and I guess I'm realizing just after I made this video about the watch period from December to January, I just realized that my phone's knackered, so I'm gonna have to get a replacement phone because it won't rotate the video around, so won't be able to do wide screens.
Alright guys, I just want to make this concerning prophetic things that I've got coming up in the calendar for December, actually through to January. And the first date that I had in mind was around the 12th of December, but just cover the rest of this week. I mean, in a couple of days we're going to have the full moon, so 2 days from now we're going to get the full moon of December, so you can keep that in mind when you're thinking about prophecy, because you know the throne of God is going to pass over on a full moon. End of story. All right, but also from that you can take, well, you know, this isn't a rapture or passing of the throne or passing of Nibiru watch period. That if you look at these 2 dates and you say, well, it's going to happen between that time. In fact, when we get to the end of this video, you'll see that actually it's not going to be in that time, because the throne's going to pass over on a full moon. Is it going to be in 2 days' time? Of course not. Yeah, the earthquakes have gone up, the volcanoes have gone up, but there's one thing: the seals haven't even begun yet. You know, when the Antichrist, the young prince, is crowned king, then the seals begin, and I believe it's going to be 30 if we're not lucky, or 40 days if we are lucky, that you're going to have that repentance time, that preparation time before the throne hits on a full moon. But also from that you can also think, well, all right, the throne's not going to hit, you know, in 2 days' time. Obvious. Is the throne going to hit in 30 days' time? You know, being January full moon, which will be around the 5th, the 6th of January. And again, the answer is no, because, you know, if there's only 30 days left, and if there was a minimum of 30 days warning for the seals to happen, you know, is William going to be crowned king in the next 2 days? Well, you'd have to say no. You know, if someone put a gun to your head and says, give me, you know, obviously anything can happen at any time, but the realistic view, do you feel it in your spirit that William can be crowned like in 2 days, 3 days time, and then that starts the 30 days, and then January? No, I believe there's going to be more time. So then if you're looking at a passing of the throne, Nibiru, or you're looking at a rapture timings, then you're gonna have to actually go beyond January full moon. All right, so in fact, anyway, one of the guys who's talking about Nibiru, he kind of dropped the date, and they said actually, funny enough, it was like 5th of January, which I was like, whoa, that's the full moon of January. Interesting. But he said that they're expecting to start to see the effects, either the blood cloud coming near and the meteorites, the trillions of meteorites which are in the outer layer of the tail of the throne. But 5th of January was the date he dropped as when they're expecting to start to see the effects of the whatever's out there. Weren't really specific, so you can that's just another thing to put in your bank. But 2 days from now, December full moon, you know, 30 days from now, January full moon. But this is not really about the full moons, or really the passing of the throne. It's not directly connected, but it is. It's more about this 2,300 days prophecy of a dirty temple. And like I said, the link between the 2,300 days to the passing of the throne, there is one. Because when the seals open and war outbreak, seal 2 happens, and seal 3, market collapse happens, guess what? The dome of the rock, which is on the Temple Mount, is going to get blown off the Temple Mount. I caught that from my pet goat too. I thought, wow, how did they know about seal 2, war outbreak, seal 3, market collapse? And yet they have to get rid of the Dome of the Rock to build the temple of God, or you could say the Hebrew temple. Again, so the seals have that connection to the temple, and many believe that the agreement with many people may involve the temple, all right, or ownership. And now we're getting more the link between the 2,300 days as well, and the 7-year agreement, and the passing of the throne. Because when they make the 7-year agreement, God says sudden destruction's going to come upon them. When they make that agreement saying peace and safety, a league with him, believe it to be Antichrist, King William, who is actually going into the world right now preaching about how he wants to save the planet from climate change. And in fact, you know, just to touch on this, I believe that the 7-year agreement is going to be a climate change agreement now. He's coming as to save the people, maybe from fake terrorism a few years ago, but look at it's all climate change bollocks now, isn't it? It's all climate change and a false saviour to save the world from destroying itself, you know? Because when the throne passes at the first passing at seal 6, he doesn't return until the very end of the tribulation, you know? And well, in fact, getting into this one, if the 2,300 days, which I'm talking about keeping an eye out for now, ends at the very end, it actually ends at the second passing of the throne. So the throne won't return for 2,300 days. Never really thought about that, but that's if this prophecy. Anyway, the 2,300 days, it says, and then the temple or the sanctuary or the temple mount will be clean. So in my view, like God is saying, for 2,300 days, that temple mount is going to be dirty in his eyes. You may not think it's dirty. Even when they build a temple and the Jews are there and they're doing the burnt offering and they're expecting the Messiah, it's still dirty in God's eyes. Why? By reason of maybe intentions. Who owns it? Because I believe that this 2,300 days, you know, the King of Jordan's not going to wake up one morning and say, oh, you know, I fancy just giving the Temple Mount over to United Nations today, is he? Do you know what I mean? Something's going to build up anyway to this event, which is one thing. And then the ownership, I believe this means the ownership of the Temple Mount shall pass over to someone else, like the United Nations, for instance, you know, the peacekeepers, but it's just the one world order. It's Satan's one world control. And so, yeah, it's going to be dirty in God's eyes for 2,300 days, all right, which it is a prophecy of days too, because he says in it, the vision of the evening, sundown, when the day actually begins on the true biblical and Hebrew calendars and days. From the evening, the vision of the evening, sundown, and morning, sunrise is true. All right, so that even confirms, because you have false prophets out there saying the Sabbath begins on Saturday morning at sunrise, when it's always been sundown, the feast, the days, everything. So the vision of the sundown and sunrises is true. So it is a 2,300 day, 24-hour period, 2,300 of them, which is equal to, if you think about it now, is equal to about 6 years and 3.5 months. Now, if you don't think this is going to happen in our time as well, you know, we have passed 483 days since the Muslims built the wall of Jerusalem around 1537. They started rebuilding the wall and Jerusalem again. It's like for the Messiah, the Prince. It was all destroyed in 70 AD, but then the 70 weeks of Daniel began again in 1537, and 483 years have passed, and we're in the time now to bring in the last week, the last 7 years, to complete the 490 years, which is 70 weeks, to bring in everlasting righteousness, which is the return of Jesus Christ to the earth. So we're in the time of the last 7 years happening, and Daniel says there'll be an agreement made with many for 7 years. So, and if you look at one of my other videos, I talk about how Jupiter, the sign in the heavens of Jesus Christ, is returning back. Like 12 years later, he returns back to Virgo, which birthed him on Rosh Hashanah in 2017. Which is kind of like the start of all this tribulation, but he's held back. He's in the wilderness of the heavens, if you like, and Satan can't find him. Like the first coming, Herod the Satan couldn't find Jesus Christ to kill him. In our time, in the birth has taken place in the heavens, and Satan, the spiritual being in the heavens, still can't find him, even until this day. But when it all begins, that's what's going to happen, that the man-child is going to get caught up to the throne. But anyway, sorry, concerning this 2,300 days, is that if the end of the age comes, like with the end of the two witnesses come for 3.5 years between trumpet number 6 and trumpet number 7. In Revelation 10, the angel delays the 7th trumpet. In Revelation 11, the last 3.5 years begins. It says the Romans will come and destroy the city. And then the two witnesses come for 3.5 years, 1,260 days, and they bring the plagues of Moses and Elijah, and they preach, obviously, to repent before the end is here. The end is coming on them, and they'll preach for 1,260 days. But then they're killed, like Jesus was, in Jerusalem. All right, they come back from the dead after 3.5 days, and they ascend on a cloud, just like Jesus did. So I thought to myself, well, if they're going to get crucified on the Passover feast, which is a full moon as well, if they're crucified on a Passover feast, just like Jesus was, then that would be a reference point. So I just kept thinking, sure, actually this December 12th that I'm talking about coming up now would actually be 2,300 days from December 12th, 2022, all the way until Passover, or preparation day, the first day, Passover 2029. But here's the problem, and here's where we get the 45 days from. In fact, it's Daniel and it's Acts. Acts says that when Jesus ascended into heaven on a cloud, it said, the angel says that he would return in like manner. So he's going to come down on a cloud. But if you take the timings of when he ascended, he was crucified on the preparation day. He died like literally a couple of hours before sundown, so literally a couple of hours before the second day began, really. And then he was dead for 3.5 days, and then he rose again early on a Sunday. All right, so he was killed on a Wednesday evening, and then he was dead, and then 6 p.m. if you like, to make it easy, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 6 p.m. and a half, 6 a.m. Sunday. So that's exactly what happened. And so that's the 5th day. And then he was on the earth for 40 days with the apostles, and then he ascended. Acts 1 says that he's going to descend in like manner. Daniel says that for the time of the end, when the daily sacrifice is taken out of that temple, actually it's stopped, there'll be 1,290 days, which is 3.5 years, a good 3.5 years, really like 3.5 years plus 1 month. But he says, blessed is the one who waits and comes at the 1,335 days, meaning the return of Jesus Christ at Armageddon. which actually is 45 days after the end, if you like. So that's what I mean, is like I look 45 days on. So like I say, on December 12th we've got this 2,300 days beginning until until Passover 2029. But the other day you got to look for now is basically 45 days on from that day. So you're going to be looking at like January 26th.
Lexi, this way.
No rabbits today.
No. Thank God.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. So yeah, so now the other date we're looking at is 26th-ish of January, which on the 26th of January 2023, there would be 2,300 days until Passover 2029, plus 45 days equals what I believe to be an Armageddon time and the completion of Daniel 12. Exactly as it's written. So just keep watch. I don't really believe about the December 12th thing. More to the fact of like when I don't think about this prophecy of the dirty temple, and I remember about a dream I had about Armageddon, right? When Jesus came, it was all kicking off in the battle, and they were coming down by the side of Megiddo, and they were spreading out on the plain, which I never even knew where all these places were. I had to Google search them and everything. And then a star came down over, I believe it was Nazareth, and there was just a flash of light, massive flash. You can't even see what it did because it was that bad. And then all the ground was singed, and then he stood there. Jesus Christ stood there. I seen his feet first like that, and then seen the top off, and he raised his hands like this. The fire went down, and the green grass came through like that. And then we walked into the temple. He gave me a scroll. I walked out of the temple. Everyone bowed, couple of people who were there, and they bowed their heads to me when I walked out. And then the dream was finished. Point being though is that I believe it's the day of Armageddon that temple will actually be fully clean. So then that's what I mean, is I've got to look 45 days past Passover. Do you get me? So this is why this January 26th of this dirty temple prophecy beginning is much more sort of realistic for me, because it's 2,300 days until Passover plus 45 equals Armageddon. Do you know what I mean? If that makes sense. I know it's a lot of sort of maths and stuff to look at. So this is the window from like December 12th until January 26th. And remember what I was saying about the passing of the throne. You're still not in the passing, because the full moons are at the beginning of the month. So in between that, you've only really got we've only really got one full moon, and that's January. But we can all establish from now that the seals are not going to happen in the next 30 days. So then you got to look at February. So the February full moon is like February the 5th or 6th, whatever it is. So, and that's outside of this window that I'm talking about. Do you see what I mean? So I'm not talking about a passing of the throne or rapture. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about a dirty temple. But it can all tie in, do you get me? Because, you know, January 26th, let's say a dirty temple is made, and the temple of God passes over to somebody else, and there's agreements made, and the 7-year agreement is made. Guess what? 10 days later, it's full moon of February. 10 days later. So it's interesting, I mean, that day there is more, you know what I mean, attractive, because like 10 days later, you've got a full moon of February. And if, you know, if that agreement of a dirty ownership of the Temple Mount and the 7-year agreement happened, then there'd only be 10 days, which 10 days is a number of destruction as well, until the full moon. So this is what I'm looking at, do you know what I mean? I'm looking at 45 days later, you've got the 26th of January. Look for a dirty temple or something going on with the Temple Mount, and 10 days later is a full moon of February. If you're thinking about rapture and stuff like that and the passing of the throne, it has to happen on a full moon. It will happen on a full moon. And so that's it. And then going back in this window, I want to try and run through a few things that are going on. So you got like the 12th. 13th, so yeah, 12th, sort of like next Monday, I think. Yeah, so you got 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, and then 18th you've got Hanukah starting. We see there's no smoke without fire. Not just saying these things because they don't line up or trying to pop dates out of anywhere, but Hanukah is the dedication to the temple, in which the Jews come back and they took the temple and they took Jerusalem away from, it was actually the Greeks, but Greeks, Romans, they morphed into the Romans, but they took it away from the Greeks who defiled the temple, and an Antichrist of his time, Antiochus Epiphanes, took over the temple and put up slaughtered pigs on the altar, or made a different altar, sorry, and slaughtered pigs and put up idols of false gods, and everyone worshipped him and tried to do away with all the law of the Jews and everything else, and the Jews fell for it as well. They started worshipping him and worshipping idols, and then the Jews just riled up like and revolted and then took Jerusalem back, and Hanukkah is to mark that time. And you know, apparently there was some oil left and it burnt for 8 days. This is why they burn the candles for 8 days, well, 9 candlestick menorah. But anyway, Hanukkah is the feast of dedication. It is mentioned in the Bible. It's not just something that happened after the Bible was finished. It happened actually a few hundred years before Jesus Christ came, and so they took back the temple just in time for Jesus Christ's arrival. And so, yeah, the feast dedication Hanukkah starts on the 18th through actually to Christmas Day, 25th. Not saying Christmas Day, because obviously Jesus wasn't born on Christmas Day. He was born on Rosh Hashanah, actually. According to Revelation 12. And according to the second coming, you know, like I said before, he was born in the heavens. The heavenly sign birth was Rosh Hashanah 2017. But then, so the 18th, you got Hanukkah starting. I also get my my ankle bracelet shackle that the beast system, the crown, has put on me. I also get that released on the 18th, or around the 18th. That's something else that happens. Also, my Star VESTA, after making its journey and actually bringing in the Aquarians into my life, exactly how it was. He made a loop round Aquarius at the beginning of June time, July. He came down, the 2 horns of Capricorn, he made a loop, and some other things happened in my life around Feast of Tabernacles. People will know what they are. And then we came back again, and now he's making his way back through Aquarius and Vesta Star. It will be in the middle of Aquarius on the 18th. So you have Hanukkah, tag off, Vesta. You also have someone mentioned something about one of the books, Habakkuk or something like that, one of the books saying about how the heavens will roar or something, and it talks about the exact day of the month, and in fact that will be the 24th day, I believe, of the 9th month. All right. Also the World Cup final, that was also on that day too, which not really relevant. And then sort of 19th, 20th, this guy I know who's like my top mates, top sort of biblical and prophecy and end of the age guys, like he's actually moving to Miami, well he's moving to Florida, sorry, on that day. And I'm like, whoa, you do realise it's a danger area for when the throne passes. He said, yeah, I know, you know, and everything. I was like, okay then, you know, whatever's God guiding you to do. I mean, who am I to say that? But he goes, I know the dangers, and I'm saying, okay, but I'm totally content that he's going to be caught up to the throne of God during that first passing anyway. I mean, you know, he's a bit older than me, and I believe that all the 144,000 saints are going to be around my age, around Jesus' age. But when you start, you know, pushing 50s and all that, then no, So pray that you're going to be part of that great multitude which are going to be caught up and saved during that first passing of the throne. And so I believe he's going to be saved anyway, but I don't know, I believe he's going to do an exploit. I mean, he's going to do some good works before the throne hits. I believe, you know, even if it's just going out to the people, to the saints of the East Coast and telling them, hey, the throne's coming down, you got 30 days, all you saints preach, but then get back into the Appalachian Mountains before the throne of God hits. Do you know what I mean? Be wise, be wise. And so, I believe he's going to do some exploits, but he's going to the danger area on the 20th, so that's in my diary as well. It's only recently come up as well. Told me about it the other day. And then the 21st, he had one thing. Some guy was talking a couple of months ago about Daniel 9:27, which is the 7-year agreement. And he was talking about how obviously September was the 9th month, and on the 27th day, he was like, look, the United Nations are meeting and stuff. And I was like, okay. And then I looked, and they sort of they met at the United Nations, and they started talking about peace and safety, like climate change stuff. And there was loads of them saying peace and safety and all that. So I was like, wow, you know, this wasn't the 7-year agreement of peace and safety of Daniel. But on this 9th month of the Roman calendar, on the 27th day of that month, September, they all met and they started saying peace and safety. And so I was like, wow, there was something supernatural going on there. Like I say, it wasn't the agreement, but hey. But I thought, well, what would that be on a proper Hebrew biblical calendar? So the 21st of December will actually be the 27th day of the 9th month of the Hebrew calendar, Hebrew year, which is Kislev. So the 21st of December is the 27th of Kislev, and so if there is any play on numbers about these things happening at that time, well, just keep an eye open for that. But I don't know. I can't, like I said, how we're looking at it now, I can't see the 7-year agreement happening on the 21st of December. But I wouldn't rule out them maybe creating the agreement with many, or them creating the 7-year agreement around that time. See what I mean? It's just a marker to like, well, this is the 9th month and the 27th day of the 9th Hebrew month. So keep your eyes open. If there is a play on numbers and the Daniel 9:27 7-year agreement happening around that time, let's say, well, just keep a look. Like I say, it might be that the 7-year agreement is created then, and it takes him and takes William and that a month to have everyone sign on to it. Do you know what I mean? He's already travelling talking about climate change now. He's just gone to America. He spoke about it in Britain not long ago, maybe 6 months ago. And now he's travelled to America, a bit like the Arch of Baal did the same rounds. So he may travel during that time of, the build-up to the throne hitting. He may travel to these countries and try and get him in on a 7-year Save the Planet treaty. And that will be the 7-year treaty of Daniel 9:27. So yeah, to keep an eye out for that around the 21st, or something developing around, maybe it starts around that time. So 21st, and then it's like 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, Christmas, and Hanukkah finishes. 26th, 27th then though is like 40-day warning for February full moon. All right, so I've always believed that we'll have a 40-day warning, like Jonah gave to Nineveh. He gave them 40 days. We had like remember the first coming of Jesus? He said the sign of Jonah, that he'd be dead for 3 days and 3 nights and then back again. Well, I always thought like how long will the seals last for? And I've always thought 40 days. And if it's like the second sign of Jonah, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like the people may get 40 days to repent. According to my words, I'm going to know on that day whether or not it's going to happen, because you'll know as well, because maybe they'll be talking about William being king. So you'll know, around the 27th will be a 40-day window to February full moon. All right, and then the January 1st I get off my Facebook ban, but that's not really important. But my 30-day ban will be over. Interesting enough, I'll share something else with you. It's not that important. It's just one of them things that I got a 30-day ban. I don't know, maybe about a week ago or so. And then I got this ban, and then this tune was playing saying the final countdown. And then I disagreed with it, and then they repented and took the ban off. But I was like, whoa, it's like 30 days ban, and then the final countdown tune coming on at the same. Do you know what I mean? Spiritually, it might mean nothing, but it happened, and I'll tell you the truth. And that 30-day last countdown thing actually landed on December the 21st as well. So freaky, but yeah. So in January 1st, I get off my Facebook ban. I'll be able to post again and such. So I don't know. And then 5th of January is the full moon. And then you go on, and there's actually nothing in the book, nothing in the calendar for January until we get to, about the 26th. And then, like I said, that 2,300 day warning of that prophecy of a dirty temple all the way until Passover plus 45 equals Armageddon. That's when I believe it would start. But even so, nobody knows when he would really pass over. I'm just sort of having a reference point to, I'd rather have a guesstimate or keep watch for these things before they happen, rather than being, weeks and weeks behind. Because we're only going to get 30-day to 40-day warning before the throne comes. So, you want to be on the ball, don't you? But I'll sort of stagger these anyway, do you know what I mean? Because it could be like he could pass over not on Passover 2029, he could pass over on the second Passover, which is actually an actual feast. It means second chance. And so I'll kind of stagger them, at least for about 3 months anyway, do you know what I mean? But no, January 26th, keep a lookout for a dirty temple. And then, like I say, 10 days after that will be the full moon of February. And so that is actually the closest possible time for a passing rapture, by what I know. Do you know what I mean? So that is the closest possible time.
And also at the end of January will be Vesta, my star Vesta, passing out of the boundary line of Aquarius, which is the people of the false peace age.
So anyway, God bless you all. I've been Pastor Prophet Justin Roberts from End of the Age Bible Prophecy. I hope this had some revelations from this, and maybe you can mark it in your diary. I'll try and post pictures of my calendar, so you'll have it in sort of black and white, or message me, I'll message you with them, or I'll make an article about it as well, and you could save it all. So maybe it's not so, maybe more like me, I have to actually look at something more to understand it. So God bless you all. Hope this but definitely a watch period starting on the 12th, not on the 12th, but on that run up to the 26th of January. Watch out, keep the Sabbath always for that beginning event happen, for the inheritance to pass over. Oh, and here's another one, for that inheritance to pass over, because that'll happen on a Sabbath day, and that is when the angel cries out, who is worthy to take the book? No one's found worthy. Jesus Christ is still in his manger in the heavens, so to speak, since he was born in Rosh Hashanah 2017. And then the woman, Israel, has to say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And then the prophecy is fulfilled, made. That you will not see me again, Israel. So the woman, Israel, brings forward the man-child Jesus Christ to God's throne when they say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. He's caught up to the throne. that completes all of it will complete Revelation 5. It will continue Revelation 12 on. Satan will be cast down, Revelation 12. Satan will go off to make war with Israel, and then the seals can actually begin then. So keep an ear out on the Sabbath day from Friday sundown always until Saturday sundown, wherever you are, especially the far west coast, the far west side of the Babylonian Empire, i.e. Americas, because you know they're already like 8 hours behind time wise. You know, be vigilant of that Friday sundown. You start your Sabbath in your heart and you keep an ear out. You're not going to see it, keep an ear out, because when that inheritance passes over, Revelation 5, you can read it for yourself. It says all the animals are going to go crazy. Into song, and you're going to hear that, all right? And then the end of the age can begin, and then the seals can open. And just here's another thing, it's more of a star sign than anything. I don't know if, you know, this is not really prophecy or anything, but it is like a sign in the heavens, and that on December around the 18th, it changes over different years, but the sun goes into Sagittarius from December 18th until January 18th. All right, and Sagittarius is the rider on the horse with a bow. Now, when seal number 1, the beginning event, when the Antichrist William is crowned king, and he comes out riding on his white peace horse to bring peace to the earth and save it from climate change and whatever he's going to do, it says a rider on a horse having a bow, and power over the skies, power over space, you know, and all the deception that comes from that. But the scripture of the seal number 1 is exactly like what Sagittarius is to us. It's a rider on a horse with a bow. So it's just interesting. It's like, even a few years ago, man, I was thinking, well, what if seal 1 happens in Sagittarius, or when the sun's in Sagittarius? So there's just another thing to throw into it as well, is that from the 18th of December till the 18th of January, the sun is in the sign of the Antichrist of seal 1. So that's just another extra to throw in there. Do you see what I mean about all these little different things? So be vigilant from the 12th. Make that even your starting point. Well, don't make that your starting point. Make like any just make every Sabbath day you start, realize the 12th, and then ongoing, and but that 26th of January being the main day. But I mean, if it's prophecy fulfilling, then you're going to know way before then anyway. Do you know what I mean? So God bless you all anyway. Amen.